Today we're going to be taking a look at a Dorman climate control for a full-size GM. I believe these are using the Trailblazers and Envoys and those chassis too. But basically these are your 03 to 06 full-size climate controls, digital version, not the analog, manual, whatever they call it version. This is the electronic version. So this is from a local customer that had me rebuild his cluster. And during that process, he mentioned he was having dashboard lighting issues and he had already purchased a Dorman replacement climate control. But he said sometime after he bought it, a week or something like that, I don't remember exactly, the vacuum fluorescent display quit working. So the parts store gave him a new unit under warranty, and that's what this is. So this is parts store fresh, hasn't been installed yet. But he had mentioned that whatever lighting Dorman is using in these Rainier units, he says it was a little too bright. He didn't like how bright it was. He wants it closer to factory brightness, but when we did his cluster, he wanted to go with green LEDs. So I'm going to be taking out whatever lighting they're using in these and installing green LEDs. I am curious about a few things. I'm wondering if they are reusing an OEM circuit board and just getting new plastics, because I see all the plastics are new, which is great because these trucks from warmer climates, the plastics are starting to yellow and get very brittle. So it's very common to see all these clips broken off, and it sometimes just taking the screws out will crack things. So it's nice to see all the plastics are new. The buttons are fresh, you know, because these have a tendency of wearing through and showing the white. So the plastics look great. But now I want to open this up and see what's on the inside. And look at that. They are using LEDs, and you know what? This circuit board looks different. I wonder if they have their own design. This doesn't look like an OEM board. Interesting. So this does look like it is 100% new. This is a brand new circuit board, different design than OEM. Here's the LEDs they're using, and they're very cold, white. Definitely a little bit colder color temperature than OEM, even with the front on, going through the plastics. You know, usually the OEM bulbs, the incandescents will have a blue color filter on them to give you a neutral white. This is maybe a little bit on the colder side. It's not too bad though. It doesn't look too bad. A little more crisp. But I'm gonna be changing out these LEDs to green. But I do see they're not. See, with the OEM circuit board, they're sending 12 volts to the lamps. But with this design, it was designed from the ground up to run LEDs. So they're sending just under 3 volts to each of these LEDs. Which means I might not be able to use my regular LEDs because they're native 12 volt. They're meant to go directly in place of OEM 12 volt bulbs. But this is now 3 volts getting sent to each LED. So you will either have to find different LEDs or jumper the resistors that they're using to end up with 3 volts at each LED. Here they had bent the LED leads. So I'm going to try to use the Tahoe FR300 to kind of straighten them to make them easier to remove. I'm just going to kind of suck as much solder as I can, but kind of tweak these leads back straight again so they'll come out easier. And then I should be able to just heat up both leads at the same time and pull it out. Yep, there it is. Nice and easy with no force, no damaged pads. Just straighten the leads and heat up both at the same time, and they come out Pretty good. This one's still a little bent. Oh, and before I forget to mention, they did mark the polarity of the LEDs. Like I said before, it looks like this board was designed from the ground up to just use LEDs. So there is a little negative symbol on each of these. All right, the bottom row is all cleaned up and ready for new LEDs. I'm just going to do these ones here next. Okay, so as you've noticed, I've left these LEDs white. These are still original. And the reason for that is since we're going with green, I'm going to put green LEDs here in this bottom row, and that will light the buttons up green here and here. But now these LEDs are for illuminating the blue and the red, cold and hot dial sections. And I don't want to use green LEDs here because you'll actually get some color cancellation. Some primary colors don't mix, like red and green. So I'm going to leave them white. That way I'll get consistent illumination out of both the blue and red, and it'll be more consistent with the brightness of the green. So if I were to, like, say, use blue LEDs behind this section, well, the blue would light up nice and bright, but not so much the red because there'd be some color cancellation. Hopefully that makes sense. I have selected the replacement green LED that I want to use. I did briefly think about using a surface mount 3528 because it will reach the pads, so I could technically surface mount LEDs to these pads, but I'm chosen not to do that because of the way the light kind of has to go through this little cup area to get that green light to illuminate the button. Light directly at it wouldn't make it into there, so they're actually using a little bit of the side light from this wide angle LED, and it's at just the right height that it can shoot light into that little pocket. Now, the surface mount being back further, the light might not make it very well, but since this can extend down, the LED would extend into that little pocket. So I'm going to try to match the height that Dorman used, and I'm going with just a pretty basic run-of-the-mill LED. There's no built-in dropper resistor, so this is going to be similar voltage, and this is wide angle, 140 degree. So I can't stress enough how important it is to use wide angle LEDs for any kind of instrument illumination. I know a lot of times people are selling focus dome style LEDs for clusters and stuff. No, don't. It just ends up looking like garbage because you just get this really narrow, bright beam spot on the face of the instrument instead of a consistent, smooth lighting. So I'm going to match Dorman as close as possible. I'm going wide angle, and I'm going to match the height, and should end up looking pretty good. So I'm going to get these in. Again, there's a negative for the polarity, and here's the negative side of the LED. You can tell because of the length of the lead is shorter, but there's like a flag shape inside of the LED. That's always the negative side. Go ahead and get a couple of these started. I'm just going to give them a slight bend so they don't fall out on me. I've matched the height as close as I can get to the original Dorman LEDs. There is a little bit of a standoff stamped in the leads of these LEDs, so they can only go so far before they're stopped. But I think that height looks like it should work. I like to give these button pads the little nibble, a little pull through to kind of help lock this back in place. So they have little tabs of the rubber that sticks through the circuit board, kind of holds it in place. Okay, so the green is looking pretty good. It's nice and consistent and vivid, but I'm not too sure how well this is coming through on the camera, but that white LED behind the blue, it's really washing out the blue, and I don't like that. So I think I'm going to change out just the white LED here and the white LED here to a blue. So instead of getting a washed out blue color, we should get a nice vivid blue. And the red, I'm going to leave that as white because I think that is just about good there. Just for comparison, I left this side white for now, and then I changed out this to blue so we can kind of see how much of a change we get. Yeah, my camera doesn't really pick it up very well, but this is a little more of a vivid blue, where this is, because of the white LED, it's a bit more washed out. But my camera has a hard time with blue colors for whatever reason. Here it is back together. I do believe this green LED lighting is a little bit easier on the eyes than the colder white that was originally in here. As long as we're on the topic of these HVAC units, if you still have a factory original one, and if you just have lighting that's burned out, that's repairable. If you have knobs that are jumpy and inconsistent, that is also repairable, either with cleaning or replacing the encoders. And if your vacuum fluorescent display goes out, that is also repairable. The only thing that's a little bit harder to fix is when the buttons are worn out, and that's when it would be a good opportunity to just purchase a brand new replacement. If you want to LED swap your OEM HVAC unit, it's going to be a little bit different than what we went over today. As far as the unsoldering and soldering in the new LEDs will be pretty much the same, but it may not have the same polarity that this Dorman unit has. And also, like I mentioned earlier, the OEM ones send 12 volts to each lamp, where this has a built-in dropper resistor, so you got to keep that in mind depending on which unit you want to put LEDs in. But that'll be it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.